We've all heard the story of Mowgli's palace. I remember reading that when I was a kid. It's been a long time since I've read that story. It always fascinated me. The supernatural, well, that story in general has always fascinated me. People always talk about Mowgli's palace or Treasure Island. Which is, well, I don't blame them. They're one of the two most famous abandoned Disney facilities to ever exist. Well, they always forget about one. A lot of people don't know this, but there used to be a park under renovation in an island in the near Hawaii, remote island, privately owned, I think. There used to be a park there. Now, Disney never fully finished it, but back in the 1940s, Disney wanted to make a park. Well, at least that's when they started construction on it. It was called the House of Mouse. Now everyone remembers Disney for all of their hard work in the 1940s. Releasing films like Snow White over the years. Eventually, 1947 comes by. Disney's now known as a company of sorts. A little famous here and there. They're trying to get some extra cash. So they decide to open a theme park. Now, this theme park was ordinary. One of a kind, at least from what I've seen. Now, no one talks about this theme park, the House of Mouse, a lot because no one knows about it. It went under in the 1956, I believe. I don't think they ever finished construction of the place. They didn't have the money, they didn't have the funds. Either that or they finished construction and it was a flop. The only thing I was able to find about it were some old newspaper clippings my great-grandfather kept from his, great-grandfather. And well, after reading the story of Mowgli's palace and talk about it, I wanted to see if I could find anything about it in old newspaper clippings. Then I found a newspaper talking about a park that was never finished, at least from what the newspaper said. They planned to build a theme park of sorts. This theme park was a whole entire house, I guess. Now, by the name of the theme park, you'd think it would be based off the old cartoon House of Mouse, but House of Mouse was released in 2011 and ended in 2006, so it wasn't based off of that. I think it was based off of the mouse itself. Now, the way they wanted this theme park was to make a big house. all the attractions, all the things you would do in there would be inside that house. There would be also character-specific rooms. In those rooms, you could pay for a night. You can sleep in the Goofy room, the Donald Duck room, the Mickey Mouse room. They worked on this for I don't know how long. I just know it went down in 1956. I always found it odd though. I'm not a Disney sleuth myself, but I don't remember hearing or seeing anything about Donald Duck or Goofy for that matter when it came to, well, the building or cartoons even. It's weird that I found that in this paper clipping. Anyway, not the point. So, I decided to work. I gathered enough money, paid for a boat, and well, traveled there. Now, when I got there, it was weird. It was very vacant. I'm surprised. But not at the same time. There, of course, looters weren't even near the island. The amount of money it would take to buy a boat or buy a trip to this island would be expensive to say the least. Unless you're a Disney lover. There's really no need for you to go there, I guess. I saw spray paint, though. I thought it was a sign of looters, but I didn't see anything taken. I just saw some big lettering at the front of the house. Or, well, I guess you couldn't really classify this as a house. Forgotten by Disney. I walked around the facility, saw a lot of plushies. I have some of them now. They're actually pretty cool. Old plushies from the 1940s. It seems like they were ready to open this park. Yeah. I don't know. Now, how Disney as a company afforded this back in the 1940s, I don't know either. It's strange, really, how they had that amount of money to build what they builded. I walked in to the house. It didn't seem to be locked down or anything. I looked around. I was expecting something to happen. Well, I guess I got my wish in the end. I found a room labeled costumes. I walked in and it was weird. I saw costumes. Throughout it all, but they had no color to them. They were all black and white costumes. Some that shouldn't even be there, some that didn't exist or don't exist in general. Saw, of course, a lot of costumes from the 1940s movies they made. Costumes like Snow White and others, but I looked over, I saw other costumes too. Costumes for mascots that wouldn't exist or movies that weren't even made by then. The costume for the genie from Aladdin, the costume for, I think, was one of the newer movies they've made. I saw costumes from almost any and all movies they've made from the 1940s onward. Now, I may not be an expert when it comes to Disney, but last time I checked, this place was abandoned and forgotten by it. No one else knew of this, at least I don't think so. Again, there was only really one time it was mentioned, but that was way back in the day. It was weird. Although, there was one costume that seemed to be missing. The Mickey Mouse costume. I felt a horrible chill crawl down my spine. I kept walking around the facility. There wasn't that much of a, supernatural, not at least from what the guy who explored Mowgli's palace talked about. No odd-looking Mickey, no nothing other than the fact that most of this place seemed to be colorless, like a black and white cartoon. There seemed to be nothing here. There were just plushies, merchandise. Sure, some things weren't supposed to be here, but other than that, there wasn't anything. The only thing out of sorts is, of course, the colorless island and the costume of the old Mickey Mouse costume not being here either. Now, whether they made a Mickey Mouse costume for this park, I'm assuming they did. After all, they did base this house theme park around it. Now, this thing was huge, obviously. To be able to hold a costume room and also separate rooms for the different characters to stay in or guests. I looked around, wasn't anything, not whispering, nothing. Till I went into the basement. Unlike Mowgli's Palace or Treasure Island, this thing didn't cause a lot of environmental problems, not at least from what I know. If it did, though, I think it would be a lot more popular and people would know about it, right? Unless Disney tried to cover that up. And so kept looking and looking and looking, and I didn't want to go down there. I don't know what secrets they had, but I just didn't want to go down there. I'm gonna wait anyway. Kept walking down the stairs. Luckily, I had a flashlight on me. Nothing. Kept walking till I found an old costume. I found it. What the Mickey Mouse costume was doing down there, I don't know. I kicked it. It didn't move. I looked up, and all I saw, in colorless blood, forgotten by God. I don't know what that meant. Why forgotten instead of abandoned? Why? I heard shuffling around the room. Supernatural. Finally, what I was waiting for. I couldn't help but be excited. I finally could prove that the supernatural is real. I looked, and when I saw, shocked me. The costume was gone, but it was nowhere in the room. I kept walking and walking and walking. I went back outside. I looked outside, nothing. Looked back at the costumes room and I saw it standing there, looking at the lifeless costumes, muttering. Kept saying in a weird, almost strange, but barely hearable, but it was like whispering, but for some weird reason I heard it extremely loud. He said, "Hey, don't look so down. They'll come to get us eventually. Maybe we'll get a new friend. Why are you so down? We haven't been forgotten. We're just here for... Don't look so down. We'll get a new friend." I stood there, listening to this thing speak. Or so I thought it was speaking. But it just stood there, talking and talking and talking. Till he said, We've all been forgotten. We've all been left behind. But soon enough, we'll have company. Soon enough, someone will keep us company. I didn't want to move. What if it turned around? What if it looked at me? What if it started chasing me? There's no way I could have started that bow in time to escape. But it didn't move. It didn't sway side to side. It didn't do anything. It just stood there. I gained feeling in my legs again. I could finally move again. I could finally get out of this daze. I can finally leave. He won't notice. I started to back off. I started to try my best to not make a sound. It looked at me. It turned around, looked at me, and said this. You're gonna leave us just like all the others. Forget about us just like all the others. We haven't had anyone to talk to in years. My friends have stopped moving ever since they closed down this park. Don't forget about us. Don't forget about us. Don't forget about us. Over and over again it said, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. I ran out of there. Now I'm here. I can still hear him. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. It was odd. It was strange. Costumes, were they alive too? They didn't seem to be. I don't know what that thing was, but it didn't seem unfriendly. Ever since then, I could barely sleep. Of course, I reread the Mowgli's Palace incident. But then I saw new updates that I didn't see before. Updates that made me rethink about talking about this or telling anyone about this, really. I tried to reach out anonymously to the guy who, well, nothing. I'm scared. They don't know I'm the one yet. Now I'm posting this anonymously, trying my best to stay undercover. I can't sleep at night in fear. I'll finish what they started. Hopefully. I just don't know if I've got the guts to. So if you ever find yourself in a supernatural situation, don't look for answers, because you may not like what's beyond those doors.